Read the roll call, please.
Councilmember Wood. Here. Mayor Pro Tem Conrad Rudy.
Here.
Councilmember Ritchie. Mayor Gibbons. Councilmember Don.
Here.
Councilmember Sorrell.
Here.
Councilmember Blue.
Here.
May I have a motion to excuse the Barrows and Councilman Ritchie? Motion.
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Item number 3, reading and consideration of the minutes of the regular meeting held on December 11th, 2023. Do you have a copy of the minutes? Read them over, and are there any corrections, deletions, changes?
Motion to approve.
Hearing none of the objections, motion to approve, second please. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Item 4, the Board of Zoning Appeals. First, we will recess as the city council, is that correct?
Yeah, I think what we'd like to do, if we could move up the Helm presentation prior to the ZBA, just because we had noticed the ZBAs at 7, and that will give us an opportunity to hear the Helm presentation.
All right.
So we would ask, we're requesting that item number 5 be moved up prior to the ZBA.
I don't think we need a motion for that, do we?
No.
All right. All right, so number 5, the presentation of the Helm Life Center regarding potential millage request. We have a lot of people here from the Helm. Welcome all. Whoever is going to be making the presentation, please come up to the podium. Give us your name and your address.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me time on your agenda. I know tonight is an important night for some people. Not for me. My husband isn't here because he's already off doing one of those things.
Okay, name and address, please.
Yes, my name is Prudence Cole. I'm a resident of Grosse Pointe Shores, 43 Fairport Road. Helping me this evening to do my presentation, in case we have a little technical issue, is Jim Crichton, who's in the back. Who's a technical guru. He's a resident of Grosse Pointe Park. There are also, as you acknowledge, some supporters here to help, and they're in the back. And I would like to also just kind of wave at the council to let you know that we have other people that are supporting this agenda. I would also like to thank Shane Rayside, in particular, who was part of a working group assigned by the mayor, a group of all the cities to discuss the needs of our seniors. And I just have to say from my heart, Shane has been extremely helpful. I mean, he just knows how cities work, and he's helped educate. So thank you, Shane. I'm going to be showing you a few slides. I thought they were going to be in your packet, but I guess there was some confusion. So there are things that you'll probably want to look at in more detail, and we'll be sure to get those to you. Derek has them here on the overhead, so I will be going there in a minute. But I'm here to ask you to take the next step to allow your community to decide if they want to ensure there will be adequate support for the seniors in Grosse Pointe Parks. Support for important programs such as wellness, information and assistance, well-being checks, Medicare assistance, medical equipment loans, transportation to medical appointments, friendly reassurance checks, health and wellness education, and continuing enrichment programs. And most important, social connections which make life worth living. These are just some of the programs that are currently provided through the Helm, and by financial support almost solely from the donor community. These programs ensure the continuation of the life that your residents have come to expect in our community, and to be able to remain in their homes safely and with dignity and respect. This is what we believe our community is about, and why we do what we do at the Helm. You know, and I'll step away from my presentation for a moment and say that on occasion, I've heard the elephant in the room is, well, we would like seniors to move. Because if they move, they'll sell their homes and then younger people can move in. But I'm here to tell you, whether we support them or not, seniors are not moving. They intend to stay in their home as long as they possibly can, because that's their best choice, as they believe it for themselves, which may be the case. So I believe that by supporting them and helping them to live safely in their homes will keep them there is a fallacy. They will be there anyway. And maybe some of you have experienced that. If you have parents, older parents, they don't want to move and they're not going to move. My presentation last spring was to alert you that the current model of supporting our seniors for the last 45 years, a population which is growing, is not sustainable for philanthropic efforts. The projection from SEMCOG, Southeastern Michigan Council of Government, is that our population in the Grosse Pointes and Harbor Woods will be at 22% by 2030. Derek, could you put the next slide? So this, and you will get a copy of this. I'm sorry you don't have it tonight. But what this shows you is the increase that SEMCOG is projecting for seniors in all of the 6 communities that we support. That's 5 Grosse Pointes and Harbor Woods. And so the projection will be that it'll be 22% by 2030. You go to the next slide, Darren. Your senior population 65 and above in Grosse Pointe Farms will increase to 25% by 2030. Thus, by 2030, slightly more than 1 out of 5 residents will be seniors, and the growth will only continue. We've looked at the growth going on past that, and it continues on through 2045. The majority of communities in Michigan have faced this same issue of supporting their seniors, but elected to utilize Michigan Act 39 of 1976, which I told you about in the past, to allow municipalities and counties to fund critical services for seniors by a millage. At this time, 72 of the 83 counties in Michigan have approved a senior millage, with additional counties covered in part through municipal villages. So as you know, we don't have a senior village in Wayne County. There aren't other Wayne County cities that have passed any sort of village right now, but there are some working on it. But what's interesting is Oakland County also does not have a senior village, but recently they have a number of cities that have passed a village, and Birmingham just recently passed one in November at a 69% approval rate, and Royal Oak passed one this past November at 61% approval rate. So for those few counties or municipalities which do not have a millage, many have provided funding in their municipal budgets to meet their community obligations to seniors. And I would point at this point to St. Clair Shores, which supports their seniors. I don't have an exact number, but somewhere over in the range of $500,000 annually out of their operating budget to ensure that their seniors have a recreational center, have a place to go, have lunches, have wellness programs. We recognize that you are under difficult constraints in your current budget. That is why we have not suggested that we need you to add funding for senior wellness programs. We are currently filling this need at the helm. But without this work, we do know you would be facing increased impact on your city services. And here I will quote Wayne State University Institute of Gerontology. Without senior programs, cities will face increased medical emergencies, more ambulance runs, more isolated and depressed residents, a deteriorating housing stock, and a fraying social fabric. Regarding the issue of isolation and depression, a recent article in the Detroit Free Press, which will also be in your packet, identified a new group which has been under the radar relative to suicides. So if I asked you which is the largest group that commits suicide? Most people would say, well, it's the teenagers, because that's what we hear about, young people that are killing themselves. But in actuality, it is white, older men who are the highest risk and are now the leading group to commit suicide. And this was quoted recently by Mitch Albom in the Detroit Free Press. I have a copy of that, and I have it in your packet. It was supposed to be in your packet, but you'll get a copy of that. In response to your question last spring regarding community support, we engaged a highly qualified Michigan polling firm, Epic MRA, to ask the question of community support of our residents. Surveying 400 individuals equally distributed by community and age, the results were that 60% said they would support a millage for senior services. So if you could turn to that slide. So if you look at this slide, this is all the 6 communities. The very top bar, the green bar, shows 61% people that we asked them, would you support the senior millage? And we asked them at a pretty high rate, a higher millage rate than what we think, what we're gonna ask for, which was 0.5. If you remember, the law says up to 1, and we said 0.5, and 61% said they would support it. And then underneath, you'll see the age groups and how they show up. So the first group is, this is too hard for me to read. So let me get my cheat sheet up here and tell you. The first group shows 18 to 34 years, 7% said they support it, which was very interesting because it was more than those that said they wouldn't. Then 35 to 49 years, this is all of Grosse Pointe's now. 16% said they would support it. What's been amazing to us is that 50 to 64-year-olds, 19% said they'd support it, and 65 and older, 20%. So you can see that it's not just the very older citizens that say that we need to do this or that they would support it. It is actually 50 to 64 years. Now I can show you specifically for Grosse Pointe Farms. So in Grosse Pointe Farms, 50, it's cut off there. 59% said they would support it. And relative to your age groups, 50 to 64-year-olds, 21% said they would support it, and 65 and older, 19% said they would support it, which is more that said no, they would not, or they would question it. So what we know is that the community says this is something we need, and these numbers, which you'll be able to look at more closely when we get the slides to you, are willing to see the value of supporting seniors in our community and keeping them here and keeping them safe and making sure that they have the support that they need. The next slide, Daryl, I'm gonna skip. I want to come back to that if you'll see that. Okay. A more detailed summary of these findings will be in your packet. It's a summary of all that was found when they did the survey. The conclusion is that our community wants to support seniors. To reinforce the vitality, the validity of this poll, we also asked them to assess how the community was feeling toward their specific their city services. The idea was if community members in your community weren't happy with what you're doing, they most likely wouldn't want to support anything new. But the good news was, and if you can go back to that slide now, Daryl, thank you. Relative to city services, the response from your community was very good. You can see over 80% said that the city services in Grosse Pointe Farms were excellent, pretty good. And what was, I thought, very reassuring was that across all of the Grosse Pointes, the response was very positive. The people are happy with the services they're getting, and yet they see the value of adding support for seniors. So the last thing I want to talk about is the Helm. The Helm is currently the provider of most services for seniors. Again, we do this primarily through resources generated through philanthropic efforts. But all 501c3 organizations are experiencing a reduction in fundraising, excuse me. Sorry, I'm getting over a cold here. And as I pointed out, we know the numbers and thus the needs are only going to increase. A review of the support we envision being funded by the village is in your packet. I will show you that. I also have that on the slides. You will see that it focuses on core wellness services, but we have also identified important new and needed services. I am very sorry. I was afraid to have it.
Some water for the place, thank you.
Very good, some water.
Somebody told me our executive directors.
We have a little bar back here.
That would be better. I never thought I'd get a cold, but I got a cold. Everybody got a cold. I was on 5 planes over the holidays. Okay. The state statute, thank you so much. The state statute which authorizes senior service villages provides for up to 1 mil. We will be requesting for up to 0.4 for 6 years. This funding will enable the continued delivery of basic support, but also implement the additional programs. Thus, 0.4 mils will be on average, Derek, let's slide it up, okay. It will be on average $84 per year or $7 per month for residents of Grosse Pointe Farms. So now if you look at this slide, last year, Lou was one who cornered me after, and he said, I think your numbers are wrong. So we went back and we worked on our numbers, and we were using the wrong multiplier, and so we fixed that. So what this shows you is that relative to the high bar, which is the highest blue bar, shows you that the biggest impact will be $30 to $77 per resident per year. And then averaging that out, it comes to $84 per year per resident. So you'll see this breakdown relative to the assessed value of
Can I ask you
homes.
a quick question?
Yeah.
Is that 359, 7, 19, is that the total amount that you're estimating?
Yes, that was the tax revenue that we got from. We got the numbers from Wayne County 22 apportionment. And Wayne County 2023 property assessment, SEU records.
No, but let's go on. We would dispute those numbers.
Okay,
Go ahead.
I know there are still questions which need to be addressed for you to vote on placing the question on the ballot, which is the major issue. Many will be worked out in the ballot language. At this time, I am asking you to approve a motion to direct your attorney to work with our attorney to draft ballot language to define the millage for a subsequent vote. With your approval with your approval, our goal is to be able to place the question on the August primary ballot, which requires that all issues are resolved by the end of February, and we have your approval. So I have approval from 2 cities so far, that's as far as I've attended 2 council meetings. And as I said, what we're asking is we have an attorney who will sit down with your attorney, with your commitment to approve the ballot language, which will answer many of the questions and some of the questions that you still have. But I'm willing to answer whatever questions you have tonight, the best I can. So that's our question. I'd like to just go ahead real quick to the essential services slide, if I could there. So this is what we also will have in your packet. This is what we call essential senior services. So as I've said many times before, I'm not asking for the taxpayers to pay for bingo. You know we do bingo. And you know, it's like huge at our.
Yeah.
If you saw the number of people that come out for bingo, you would be amazed. It is incredibly popular and incredibly important for so many people because it's social interaction. But we're not saying we want you to pay for that or asking senior citizens to pay for that. What we're talking about is these are the essential services. These are the things that are key to keeping people healthy and okay in their homes. And if we're not doing this, you're gonna have to do it. They're gonna have to call your city, they're gonna have to call Shane or Derek to say, help me, I don't have any food. I need Meals on Wheels, or help me, I don't know how to get to my doctor's appointment, I don't have any way to get there. I mean, I know we think we're wealthy here, which we are by many standards, but there are still people that are desperately in need. Even people who have the money don't have. Well, I'll just tell you, a good friend of mine told me the other day that a friend of hers who's well off enough called her and said, please, I have to get to the doctors and nobody will take me. None of my friends will take me. You know, I mean, if you don't have a network of friends, you can't necessarily get things done. And those are the holes that we fill at the Helm. So this is the list of essential services. The next slide.
Excuse me, could you please read?
Let's
Okay.
go on here, so we go through each. But what I want to do is that keep your questions, we're gonna open up the questions. from
Okay.
the council. Go ahead.
So Derek, if you go to the next one. So this pie chart shows you, there we go, shows you the breakdown. So what we're talking about is for our essential services, health and wellness is budgeted, we're looking at a budget of 175,000. Meals on Wheels is 144,000. And senior outreach is 397,000. The senior outreach is where we have a social worker, amongst other things, on staff who answers questions and helps people get to the right place for the right services. And so this budget, this portion of the budget is 716,000. And then if you go to the next one, Derek. This is what we call the new and expanded services. These are the things that we feel we need in Grosse Pointe that we don't have right now. Up in the left-hand corner is remote expanded services. Here, what we're hoping for is to be able to go into people's homes. Right now, we do everything on the phone. We don't have people that can go out, but what we want to do is to have individuals that can go into the home and check on individuals to make sure things are fine. Another one is expanded services at the Ridge Road, and that's at our center, which is in your neighborhood, as you know. That's 175,000. And then the last one, and to me the most important one that we get a lot of calls about, is an adult day services program. And that one is very expensive because it's a startup, but adult day services is where it's like childcare. Like you mentioned, it's adult daycare. And it's where if your mom is living with you or your dad and you want to go to work, but you can't because they're there, they can't be left alone, or it's your wife and she can't be left alone. You bring them to the adult daycare program, and it's fully it's staffed with competent people, and there's activities, and they're supported and they're fed, and you pay a nominal fee for that, but it's not anywhere near what the cost would be if you bring somebody into your home, or if we didn't have support to cover that. And the biggest issue is the startup cost to do that. We get calls all the time about this, and this is something we feel is critical, and there's nothing nearby in that area. So,
Prudence, I'm gonna stop you for a minute here.
Yep, I'm done.
I think that, because I know we have a lot of questions here, but the slides that you're just showing us, and the information and the cost attached to it, that is something that we need to look at. I don't feel comfortable about saying yay or nay, or postponing anything else, unless I have some of that data that I can take a look at and I can digest.
Okay.
So that's one thing. The second thing is that, when we're talking about some different data from Wayne County, we've got to be kind of careful as far as how they section out the Grosse Pointe. Sometimes it's not always the most accurate. But that's neither here nor there. That's always going to be Wayne County, right? But there are many, many questions, I'm sure.
Yes.
I mean, I really do think that this deems some other different time to take a look at it and to digest the information. And we have two of our council people, most especially our mayor, who is not here. I am probably the oldest person here, so I'm certainly a senior citizen, so I'm interested in this, but I'm also a stickler for data, for cost effectiveness, and for a census as far as who's going to be served, by what, and how, and also sustainability. So, your issue is enormously important, but I just don't feel good. We have our city attorney right here. I mean, it's the will of this council that we just pass it on to Bill Burgess and go ahead and try to draw up some language, knowing that nothing is binding right now.
Right.
So be it. But with that said, let me open up to our council members on whatever questions or comments they may have.
I just had a question, Constance, if we could go back to the slide that listed essential services. I just simply wanted to know what those essential services were noted in the slide. That's what I wanted to know.
Okay, let me see if I can read it off my copy here. Okay. The essential services include information and assistance. So if an individual is looking for help and where to get help, they call and we provide that information. So calls. I have to put my mom in, I need to get some care for my mom. I have a friend whose husband just passed away and she has dementia and they want to know, can they call the help? And I said, absolutely. We will direct you to where we know you can get services and what's available relative to Medicare, what's not Medicare covered, things like that. Medicare Assistance Program. This is our program where when people are on Medicare, it's very daunting if you haven't had to do this to figure out what health insurance, what insurance you should sign up for, and you can save a huge amount of money if you sign up for the right Medicare coverage. And so we have counselors that sit there and work with individuals. We saved one woman. Off the top of my head, it was over $30,000 because she was on a Medicare program that wasn't covering her medications, and we found a program that covered her medications. Another one is medical equipment lending. So we loan equipment out. People donate excess equipment to us when somebody dies, and then we loan that out, and we want to expand that program. It's huge right now, and it could be bigger. That's medical escort service. So we have volunteers. And so while people say, well, it's a volunteer, it doesn't cost you anything. Well, we have a coordinator who coordinates it. We've got people that answer the phone. So you can call, and I think we need like a day or two ahead of time and say, I need to go to the doctor's. And is there somebody that can drive me? We have a wonderful testimony from a woman who drove another woman to the hospital, to the doctors, waited with her, they stay with you, drove her back home, and then spent 2 hours talking to her.
Okay, so Prudence, this is information that we would like to have, because what you're talking about is situation analysis. And then with that, you're talking about what your programs have and how you meet the needs assessment. So that's great, but we'd like to see it.
I'm sorry you didn't get that tonight, it was a miscommunication, we were supposed to have it.
It's probably not, who knows if it's your fault anyway. But I do think that we need that. I'll entertain a couple more questions from council, and then we'll decide what we want to do.
Did Serena, there's a 4 or 5 more.
Yes, exactly. But I will review the package because I think it's very important that we understand, or at least I understand. When you say essential services, are you also talking about providing in-home care?
No, we do not, that is, that's not in our wheelhouse to do that. That requires insurance and requires licensing. What we do, we recently met with an organization called PACE,
Right.
which is affiliated with Henry Ford Health Systems, partially owned. We have a very good relationship with them. We're in their building. And we're in conversation with them. I'm going to partner closely with them but we would have to pass that off to them. That would be beyond what we would propose to do. We'd have to go for a 1 mil to do something like that. It would be far more extensive.
Other questions?
Several questions. Prudence, thank you for coming. I think it's important, right? I love it. It's a matter of getting a little more information. What's your annual budget, your operating budget?
Right now, we're at about 1.2 million,
1.2 million, okay. And
which is about, we get maybe 20% or less, 20% from government funding, which is very iffy, very, it's changes from year to year, and the rest is all donation.
so just by kind of a back of the envelope calculation, I'm figuring that if you were to have 4 mills in our community, it'd be about 450,000.
Yeah, the total is on that slide.
So basically, that's a lot, that's a big chunk of your operating budget there, and never even talked about woods and farms and shores. My point is that it seems like this millage request is going to, if it were to pass, it's going to practically double the operating budget that you have. That seems, just by looking at it and talking about it, it seems excessive to me, right? But I mean, it's up to you if you want to put on 4 mil, 0.4 mils or 4 mils or 1 or less. It's up to you to propose that.
Yeah.
And I understand that tonight, you're asking us to work with our attorneys to work up language to put on a ballot. I want to reiterate what Bethany said. I'm concerned that Louis and that Joe are not here to vote. I think, you're asking us just a simple question, yes or no, should we put it on the ballot? But I would like those two guys to have input too. I don't know what the wish of the council is tonight, but it's important enough for me to say I'd like to adjourn until next time so that those gentlemen can be here and hear what you're having to say. So that's my concern there. And the other question is you mentioned in the Epic MRI data that the surveys that you've done, that you contacted cities around the metro area, and Birmingham was one of them. What is the amount that they collect? Or I guess that wasn't a survey, it's an actual fact.
Right,
They do have.
right.
So what is the millage that Birmingham, for example, collect for senior citizen
Okay,
services?
the Birmingham, I don't, off the top of my head, it was, I think, 3.3. But I don't know what they were planning to do with their business. They're kind of they've never had much money in Birmingham for seniors. So I haven't followed in detail what they plan to do with the money. Relative to where we came up with 0.4, we took a look at what were as I said, what we felt the services that were key, that we couldn't live without. We looked at the potential for reductions. The outlook right now is that donations will have diminished this year by 10%, and that they will continue to go down. So we tried to factor in, okay, so if we're going to look at this kind of a drop in donations, we know that many of our donors are in their 90s, and our major donors are in their 90s. One just recently passed, so that we know we're going to lose. We've lost that money, so we're trying to balance with what we're projecting to lose, what our cost increases are going to be because of the new people, more people coming in. Now that we've been getting so much publicity because of the millage, we are inundated with people now. We have so many people coming to the Hound that our parking lot is swamped. So we're trying to balance all those numbers. So yes, our budget is only 1.2, but we expect it's going to go up significantly.
And I guess that you're talking about your donors and all, that just brings to my attention, like capital campaign. Have you done capital campaigns at the Helm, and to what extent are you?
Yes.
Why wouldn't you just do a series of capital campaigns campaigns instead of asking residents for tax?
Well, we have a capital campaign that I started, I've been the president for 2 years. And I started a capital campaign at the same time as I said, we need to start and get help from the community, the village. And the capital campaign has been very slow to make any progress. We have been at it for, well, 2 years, and we're at $500,000, which isn't anything. And we've gone to major donors.
No,
in
I'm
our
sure,
community.
I'm sure you're doing it right.
We have tried, I mean, what we're hoping is that, you know, the dilemma is, our biggest fundraiser is our gala. And so we have, I can think of a donor right now, he donates 30,000 for our gala. So now, if I go to him and I say, I need 30,000, would you be a primary sponsor for the gala? And he says, yes. But then if I go to him and say, will you be capital campaign? Well, I just gave you for the gala, you know, so then I switch him over to the capital campaign, but then I don't get the operating money I need for the gala. That our gala keeps us alive every year. So it's a conundrum. So if we have a village, we have the space of time in which to keep ourselves going and then focus on the capital campaign, because our goal is $10 million, but we're nowhere near that. And I have no way to get there as long as I have to keep funding my operations with the donors I have today. And one of your farm's residents is our rainmaker, and he is a pro at, I don't know how he does it, but he's able to get new donors all the time. But, you know, to do a capital campaign, you need a donor of $1.5 million to start you off, and we haven't found it yet. But if you're willing to do that, I'll sign you up.
All right, let's move on, please. All right, do we have other questions? Are you okay with that?
I'm fine. I would just like to pose a question to the rest of the folks here as to whether or not we might want to consider.
Well, let's see if they have any other questions first, all right? Any other questions from our council? And if you want to opine that you would like to wait until our council people are here, that's fine.
Madam Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
thank you very much. I too am a huge fan of the Helm.
Thank you.
My mother is older, and when she's in town, she uses it quite frequently. And my 95-year-old dad used it as well. It's a great facility. I know Derek has been a big help to you. And I also know that through the experiences we've all had through the recent pandemic, how important it is to keep our seniors very active, very engaged, keep their minds working, keep them
Yes.
socializing to the extent possible. I would like to table this matter. I will offer a motion to that effect to the next regularly scheduled meeting. I would love to see the background information if we could. I apologize that hopefully the mix-up wasn't on the city's end, but I'd like to see the background information. I'd like to see everybody here. I'd like to know the final number that you would request. And going forward, I have no problems having the attorney speak. I'll reserve judgment for a later date after reviewing the figures and your information as to whether or not I think it should be on the ballot. But I would very much appreciate a little further information so we can do our due diligence as to Birmingham, Royal Oak, St. Clair Shores, see what their effective rates are, things of that nature, what the language was on their ballot initiatives. I know time is of the essence because you're trying to get something done quickly, but I'm going to move in a few minutes that we table this matter to the next regularly scheduled.
Councilman Neal?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of am with Councilmember Lilly on this as well. Though I do understand your concern with, I guess what I'm a little bit confused on is you say that you need approval in February in order to get on the August ballot. If we didn't approve something today that allowed it sounds like we're being asked to put forward a motion that allows our attorneys to speak with other municipalities' attorneys to put together potential ballot language.
It'll be one-on-one with our attorney.
Oh, it's one-on-one.
One-on-one.
It's got a one-on-one, okay, so.
We're gonna try to get a universal language,
Okay.
but we don't know that thus
But,
far.
and so you're trying to get that done by February, which would
Yeah, by
mean
the
we would
end of
have,
February.
we would have to approve it
In March.
in March. So
Yeah.
you're saying like within 2 months. So that would be the issue, is if we don't necessarily allow this conversation, is there even the potential for them to move you very late to the game in terms of?
We can make it.
All right.
Okay,
Okay,
can
all
come
right,
back to you next meeting.
all right, Sarah, where's your pen?
I just have, need a little bit more information.
All right, we'll entertain a motion, table this.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move that we table item 5 on this evening's agenda to the regularly scheduled meeting in February 2024.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
But your attorney,
Opposed, opposed?
I would say nay,
We say nay?
yeah, after consideration of it, just, yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, we have four votes, yes. Okay. All right, the motion has approved. It is tabled and we will reconsider it in February. Okay,
and with your attorney, you have the approval of your attorney to work with our attorney? Or
we
did you
cannot do
instruct
that
him?
if we have no approvals.
Oh,
That's what we're trying to say. We are absent 2 council people.
Yeah.
And, excuse me, we are absent 2 council people, so what we will have to do is that we'll have to put this back on the agenda. It's a village and it's language. It's important. We need the information before making a good decision, otherwise we're delinquent in what we're doing.
I understand.
All right, and I don't have that information. I really can't, and all good conscience, nor can some of my other council members. That without the needed information, I think it's a knowledge. So, we need to be very, how you go into a process dictates how that process will fold out. And can dictate the outcome of that. So a healthy beginning, knowing all the facts, is probably the most astute. Thank you for coming. I can compliment you on your work. My husband is with the early green council, so it's just because he conducts that. But I think that you know, it's wonderful. It just has to be the foundation with the data has to be there when you're talking about a village, because now you're going to get deal with municipalities. And that's not always the easy way out. Thank you for coming.
Okay,
Thank you. All right, now we must, I'll take a motion to recess from the council and go into the board zoning appeals meeting, please.
Motion.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. We have Board of Zoning Appeals is now convened. We're looking at a consideration of a request for use of variance at 383 Kirchhoff. Who is here to speak to that, please? Need your name and address?
Hi, my name is Jody Fitz, and my address is 66 Stevens Road, in the Farms. I am the owner at 383 Kirchhoff, and we would like to ask for a variance to use it as office space for my husband. He would be the only person in the office, and he only works, like, office work, about 3 hours a day. Works longer than that.
Questions from council? Any questions? Dr. Lewis?
Mayor Pro Tem, Ms. Fitz, good evening. I'm familiar with your husband. I've worked with him professionally in the past. I understand it's recently changed and that he's no longer medical examiner ME in Macomb County. Is he gonna see any type of, I know that his profession, he typically doesn't see patients. So to speak, is he gonna see patients at this location?
Absolutely not. The only medical equipment that would be in the building is a microscope. He does all his cases. He's the medical examiner of St. Clair County and Saginaw, and he works up in Port Huron.
So perhaps some
No.
forensic analysis, books.
It's like computer work, reviewing, reports.
Fair enough.
Occasionally, he'll have a meeting with an attorney
And you've owned that building for some time?
about, I don't even know, maybe 8 years?
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you for being here tonight. You have my support.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions from council members?
kind of going to
Well-
general questions.
Yeah.
Are you proposing any new lighting on the building?
I did not put it in there, but I do have a picture. I would like to put 3 kind of gooseneck, although I need to talk to a decorator just to make sure. 3 gooseneck, like lights over the windows.
Okay, and you'd be willing to work with Matt to
100%.
be sure that
Yep.
we're in
Yep.
compliance with the ordinance.
Yes,
Shoot down and.
yes. And he's not going to have a business sign. He'll have
Okay,
maybe some, on the door, his name like in etching. But
Yeah. okay, and parking wise, is it on-street parking or are you gonna use the little alleyway?
That's a whole question. He's planning on parking on the street. Jerry, has 381, so we share that little space. So, his car's there, I mean, he's accommodating, but I don't think my husband would ask him to move his car so he could pull his in, for a few hours. But my husband did tell me he might be riding his bike or moped
Oh,
to work occasionally. We'll see how that.
And just one other question, that's what I meant. Any planned improvements, interior improvements, or any
Oh.
exterior improvements that you're going?
Well, exterior, we need to clean up that alleyway. And then interior, yeah, we're putting new floors in. Right now, we're removing like 4 or 5 layers of flooring. It's actually incredible. And then we're planning to kind of go with an industrial look. So, faux brick on some of the walls inside.
Okay.
I want it to look nice.
It looks nice now.
Well, no, it needs help. It needs help. It's an eyesore. So we're excited to,
It'll look better.
yeah.
Okay, no other questions.
All right, any other questions? Can we entertain a motion, please?
Well, anybody from the public?
Anyone from the public want to speak on this issue?
I do have a motion. Oh, if there are no, There is no-
Hearing none,
Okay.
all right, go ahead.
all right, I do have a motion, a use variance motion. It's rather long. It's a use variance motion, but please bear with me. I move that the Board of Zoning Appeals grant use variance in accordance to permit a law office commercial use in a residential zoning district at 383 Kirchville Avenue. Property in question is located in the R1 Single Family Residential District, but has not been used as a residence for an extended period of time. Rather, the property has been occupied by commercial or community service uses for an extended period. It is significant that the retail party store next door at 381 has been in use in the same building for approximately 60 years, established well before the current zoning ordinance was enacted. My motion is based upon a review of Matt Baca's memo dated January 8th, 2024, and analysis by McKenna dated January 4th, 2024, and the applicant's photos and the application dated December 6th, 2023. Variance is in harmony with and serves the intent and purposes of the zoning ordinance. In particular, the extent of the use variance is arguably less intense than the previous permitted retail establishment. Considering the requirements of section 1502.5E of the zoning ordinance, the existing future development of the district is not impeded by the proposed use of the property for office purposes, and such office use will have no impact on the overall future development of the city of Grosse Pointe Farms. Furthermore, there will be no change in population density. There will be no change in the need for government services or the extent of government services. There will be no change in the dimensions of the structure itself. And in fact, the only changes will be upgrades to lighting and appearance and functionality. Variance will result in substantial justice being done since it allows the use of a currently vacant property. There are no letters of objection from the neighbors. The proposed use of the property is consistent with and will promote the intent and purpose of the ordinance. The proposed commercial use will be compatible with adjacent land uses, natural resources, and public service capabilities. Character of the neighborhood will be maintained since no new construction is planned. The proposed use is consistent with the public health, safety, and welfare of residents of Grosse Pointe Farms. And that is probably the longest motion I've ever had.
Mr. Burgess, are we okay with that motion?
Yes,
Legally?
proper motion.
Thank you.
All right, can I have a vote on the motion?
Oh, I have one question. On the very beginning of the motion, let you say law office, and does it matter in this variance if we indicate the function of the office, or can we just say office?
That would be fine with me.
I just want to make sure it's
Yeah.
clean,
Yeah.
it's clear as
That's
possible.
just fine. Friendly amendment accepted.
Thank you, sir.
All right, do I have approval of the motion? I need a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We also had another variance that was tentatively scheduled for the Board of Zoning Appeals, and that was the consideration of the request for dimensional variance at 360 Carver. That has been postponed and moved until our next Board of Zoning Appeals with our city council meeting next month. All right. We have item number 6, the consent agenda.
You got it.
Madam
Oh,
Mayor,
I'm so sorry,
I
yes.
move
All right, we need to move out of the Board of Zoning to adjourn that. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Support.
Second,
second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And we will reconvene as the city council. May I have a motion for that? Need a motion for that? No, all right, we are reconvened now. We have no item number 5, presentation, excuse me, item 6, the consent agenda. Consideration of request to approve December 2023 invoices.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Number 7, reports. We received December 2023 public safety report. We all have that, correct? Move on. Number 8, other business. Any other business for the council members before we open to public comment? Hearing none. Members of the public, anyone would like to come forward with any business that you may have or comments?
Mayor Pro Tem, I'm sorry. May I very briefly?
Yes.
May I please just remind everyone that this weekend is the Winter Fest
Oh, yeah.
at the Farms Pier, and we hope to see everyone out there for what is always a fantastic weekend for young and old alike.
From noon to 4 Saturday.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
we'll have games, ice carving, live entertainment, so encourage people to do that.
Other business. Any other business? Council? All right, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
In favor?